Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the channel. It's another FPL Game Week preview team selection, and I'm joined as always by the lovely Yelena. Yelena, thanks so much for joining. How's it going?
It's good. I'm sad. We were just having a chat before going live, and I'm really sad that it's coming to an end. I've loved these chats. The season's been horrible, but this has been really, really nice.
Like salvaging it since we started doing this towards the end of the season. I know we have to like find something to do over the summer.
Yeah,
I saw
definitely.
that you posted about this on Twitter, and somebody was like, "You guys can still talk," and I was like, "Yeah, I know, but it's not the same, okay?"
I know. Normally we're messaging over WhatsApp, but it's all negative. We're like moaning about Chelsea. Our teams have gone badly.
I know. I'm just like, why did I do this in FPL? But since it's the last video of the season, I kind of wanted to do something special. So I have a little surprise.
Ooh.
Ross!
Oh!
Hello.
I could hear the music, and I was just messaging Ross back. I was like, "Oh, sorry, I need to get this in before I record." Hi, Ross.
Hello. I'm glad that you're happy. We're a little bit worried that you'd be like, "Oh, not him again."
Yeah, I'm like, he talks to me all the bloody time. Now I've got this.
I know. I was like, should I have told her? But I think it's going to be a really cute surprise, so I wanted to keep it a surprise.
This would have been so funny if behind the scenes Ross and I had actually fallen out.
Could you imagine? And I was like, welcome, guys.
We'll hash it out.
Ross.
Luckily, Fernandez scored. Otherwise, this would be very, very frosty.
It would be. Yeah, I feel really bad because I gave you both independent advice to bring in Bruno Fernandez. And after that first game, I was like, what have I done? I shouldn't have given that advice, but he did it.
I know. I was like cursing Fernandez. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, how does he not get anything? And I was like, surely he gets something versus Chelsea, but this feels really wrong because it's my team. Like, I don't want him to get anything. It's just massive. But thanks so much for joining. Super excited to have you with us. So I guess this video is going to be a bit longer than usual because we have all of our game weeks to go through. So guys, in this video, we're going to go through how we did in game week 37, some buy, sell, team news, reactions, what we're thinking for our team, captaincy, all of that in this video. So super excited to get your opinion, especially because, Ross, I was telling Yelena behind scenes, like, I'm super pissed because I made a transfer already.
Already? Okay. That's going to be
I had the
interesting.
exact same reaction. I was like, that is very early.
I tell you guys the story once we get to the team news. So let me see if I can present my screen, as I always struggle with this. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see my screen now. So this was my game week 37 team. I had 68 points, but took a -4, so it ended up being 64 points, which was actually the bare minimum points that I needed not to get a red arrow. So it was a green arrow of like 0.08%. But at least I stayed consistent. Really, like, the major issue in my team is the goalkeeper situation. I really didn't know what to do there. And if you watched last week's video, I was like really struggling. Do I bring in De Gea? But I don't typically go for like goalkeeper transfers. And then everybody was going for Fernandez. So I ended up bringing Fernandez in for a -4. Captained Holland with the herd of people. I was too scared not to captain him. And yeah, like, I was actually pretty okay with this team. Obviously, really upset about having Trippier on my bench, but kind of looking at the team, I don't know who I would have necessarily started him ahead of. And obviously, hindsight's 2020. But this is my game week team. Didn't do great, but it was salvageable. Like, at first it was really, really bad, so I was okay with my team. But Yelena, what about you? You did fantastic this game week.
I was so relieved, so happy. I never checked my game week, and then I just happened to. I think it was on, I don't know, it was whenever, Ross, you messaged me because you were like, excuse me, how are you on? I was on like 68 points, and I was like, I don't know how this has happened. I was really happy. I mean, I got lucky, very, very lucky, because I started Edison, and if you'd have told me that I'd actually be better off benching Edison in a double game week. I wouldn't have believed you. I was praying he didn't start in the second game, and he didn't. So I managed to get 9 points there. And so my heart dropped when I saw the Brighton lineup for the Southampton game, I think it was, with Ferguson starting. So that was a bit annoying. I feel as though, I mean, everyone had quite a disappointing double game week. I feel as though this team deserved a lot more points, but my Brighton players let me down. I was glad at least Matoma and McAllister ended up getting the assists, but I was expecting kind of goals and assists in both games. And then very, very pleased I brought in Fernandes. I actually took Ralph out for a walk late last night and I checked my phone and I saw Rashford had scored and Fernandes had scored. And I was cheering in the street. I was so relieved. But I'm really pleased. It's taken me back into the top 100k. So I'm ranking at 80,000. But it's also because I wanted to take loads of hits this game week because I'd have nothing to lose. Whereas now I think I'm going to be a bit more safe.
Yeah, that makes sense. And especially with Rashford yesterday, I was thinking like, oh, surely he's going to come on, but it actually ended up working out okay that he came on so early. Of course, it was a super, super unfortunate injury. But yeah, I was like hoping that he always gets something versus Chelsea. Like he always scores. So when he came on so early, I was thinking, okay, surely he's probably going to get something. And Ross, what about you? How did you do last week?
I can't believe the 1 week I've chosen to come on is the week that Yelena gets a massive green arrow. And look at her, she looks all smug. She's trying to be modest, but we know how she's feeling. I basically had the same team as Yelena, apart from I didn't get lucky with Trippier and Everson. So I ended up on 69 points. But other than that, yeah, very similar kind of teams to you two. I had Enciso as well. And when that goal went in, I was so relieved because like Yelena, I was choosing, do I go for Alvarez, Ferguson? Pretty much every other option returned. And then I was just waiting for Enciso to blank. So that goal was absolutely massive. I do have Trippier and Botman on the bench. So that was quite painful having those 17 points there. But it was a small red arrow. And similar to Yelena now, I'm just inside the top 10k, which is my target rank. So it's probably going to be a little bit playing safe for me rather than going really aggressive. But I was fairly happy with it. At this stage of the season, to get a small red, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, you're still in the top 10k, so that's amazing. I've had like the worst season ever, like my worst ever season. I took too many hits too early in the season, and then now I'm like have learned to hold myself back and everything, and I like finally started going up, but it's like too little, too late for me, unfortunately. But it's always next season. So now we're going to get into our buy options for the final game week 38. So I went with Eze from Crystal Palace. I think he's looking in incredible form. He's at a similar price point as some of those Brighton midfielders, so it's a pretty easy swap as well. He's playing Forest at home. Of course, Forest have secured themselves from relegation, but I do like Palace's chances in this game. 3 goals, 1 assist in his last 5 games. You can see that he's outperforming his expected goals. And I just look at the underlying stats, 6 shots on target, 11 key passes in the last 5 games. So I think that he's looking like a pretty good option and a bit of a differential as well. I do think that his ownership is going to go up in the next couple of days. We're recording this on Friday afternoon for anybody watching it a little bit later. But still at this moment in time, under 10% ownership. I'm curious, what do you guys make of this option? Are you guys thinking about bringing Eze into your teams?
Shall I go first? I'm going to talk over Ross. I am very tempted, and this is like the Fernandes thing all over again, where I don't miss out, and he has been looking really, really strong. I think I had Eze previously in the season, and I was very happy with him. And those stats, like 3 goals in the last 5 games, I can see them going big for the final one. Plus, it's a home game, and I do think Forest, now they've avoided relegation. I mean, Forest's performance in the last couple of game weeks has been unlike anything I've seen. They've been so strong, and I think that was just because they thought they were going to go down. So I can imagine Forest being a lot more relaxed now, and yeah, I think it's a great buy.
Nice. Ross, what about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's interesting because Palace and Forest don't they don't have anything to play for, but they can go up 1 place or down 1 place in the league. So I don't think it's going to be a case where they rotate massively and don't go for it. So they can. And the difference between 1 place in the Prem can be like £2 or £3 million. So the club's going to want them to go up a place. And I think the thing that I love about Eze is that his goal threat is just really, really good. He's not got much assist threat, but you want your midfielders in FPL to score goals. And I like the fact that he's, as you can see here, his goal threat is a lot better than his assist threat. So he's the sort of player you could imagine in the final day getting you a 14 or 15 pointer.
Yeah, I think that like it's so hard to predict because we're all trying to find these like players that are going to Holland. There's always seems to be at least one fixture, especially on the last game day of the season where there's just a massive scoreline. So I'm hoping that it's as a Yelena, you have super interesting picks here. You went for Harry Kane. I have to say, like when I was inputting these stats, you've been convincing me just from that. What are your thoughts?
So my thing with Kane, I think he's just gone so under the radar. In previous years, he is always on everyone's team. You kind of have Kane, Salah, Son back in the day. Whereas now Haaland has been so incredible that I think Harry Kane's just been completely overlooked. He has returned in like every game for as far back as I can remember. 4 goals, 2 assists in the last 5. And I think even though Spurs are such a poor team at the moment, Harry Kane always manages to find a way to find the goal. And I think with Haaland's threat of rotation, I think Kane's a really solid option to go for. And I'm quite excited to bring him in because when I have had him on my team, he hasn't wowed me. There hasn't been like a massive score, but he has always delivered. So I think this might be quite a nice, safe pick. And I think his ownership will go up even higher. So I don't want to miss out again. All of my transfers are based on not missing out on points. But yeah, I'm quite excited. I think I'm pretty set that I will bring Kane in.
Yeah, and Ross, what do you think about the fixture? Because Leeds away at Ellen Road, obviously Leeds are fighting to not get relegated. I think they do have to rely on other results as well. But do you think like that could tip the game one way or another?
I think game state will be really important here. And when we say game state, it's like who scores first and what happens in the other games for Everton and Leicester. If Spurs score first early and Everton and Leicester are both winning, I think it will be a position where we could see Spurs really go for it and let Leeds really go for it. Spurs will catch them on the counter. And I think we could see kind of 4 or 5 goals for Spurs. If Leeds score first, though, and they only need they don't need to win by too many goals or they only need a draw, then it could be the case that actually they sit back and defend. So I think the first goal in this game is very important. If Spurs get the first goal, I think it could be a massive score for Kane. Otherwise, it could be a frustrating afternoon, I think, for him.
Oh man, so there's so much to think about, and I spent hours and hours and hours just trying to mull over what I think is going to happen. And I don't know, I really like his underlying stats, but like you said, you never know, and it really depends on who scores first. But that brings us to your bye pick, and super surprising one, but I like it. Super differential. Talk us through this one, Raz.
So this is something that I wouldn't usually do. And this is like a sentimental pick and buying into the narrative a bit that this is probably his final game for them at home, wanting to have his send-off. He's a Premier League legend. The data is always ridiculous for him. As you can see in the last 2 games, having an XG of almost 4, considering he hasn't even played 90 minutes in those games. When he plays, he's great. He's on penalties. Leicester, again, have to go for this. They have to score goals. And you would hope that Vardy would get the start in this final game. So I usually pick based just on the data, but this is really kind of a nostalgia, sentimental pick. And I do think that he'll want to go out with a bang and get a goal. So if you do buy into narratives and you buy into that he wants to like finish his story in the right way, then I really like Jamie Vardy.
Again, I mean, it would be so beautiful to just like see him be able to kind of, finish off on a high, hopefully. And it's a super good differential pick, guys. So you never know. Could absolutely bang. That brings us to our sales. So mine is McAllister. I brought him in a couple of game weeks ago and he just hasn't popped off for me. I think we've been seeing a lot of rotation with the Brighton assets, with the amount of double game weeks that they've had. Also, McAllister's future seems that he's going to be headed to Liverpool. So personally, I'm unsure if he starts this match. And just looking at the stats, 1 goal, 1 assist in his last 5 games, only started the last 3 of 5. Obviously, he's on pens, and he has shown that he is a goal threat, but I just feel like kind of mixing it up a little bit for the last game week of the season and not having that double Brighton midfield. But Yelena, what do you make of this pick? Are you thinking about selling your Brighton assets at all?
Yeah, definitely. The rotation worries me, and just looking at them, there's something off with them at the moment. I think they've had so many opportunities and they're not really delivering. The only Brighton assets I'm really I'd probably second guess would be Enciso and Ferguson, but we've seen them. Enciso's goal was absolutely incredible. That was one that I replayed because I couldn't believe it was just so good. McAllister, yeah, anything I've had from McAllister has been a real surprise. So I think if you're going big for the final game week, he's just going to be disappointing again. So I think I'll also be looking at removing him.
Ross, I feel like you've had McAllister for a while. So are you thinking about keeping him for the last game week of the season, or are you kind of looking at selling a Brighton asset as well?
Yeah, I'm worried with Brighton because they have absolutely nothing to play for now. And McAllister looks like he's off in the summer. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him miss this one or get reduced minutes. And we still don't know whether he'll play in the 10 role or the defensive role. He seems to be going back and forth between the two. So I think especially as Eze is there as an option and there are some other fun punts, that feels like a space in our teams where, let's say we don't get any early team news, McAllister to someone like an Eze feels like a fun upside chasing pick for the final. And Aston Villa are pretty decent as well. So I like the idea of McAllister to Eze. That's something that I'm considering.
Well, I'm glad you say that, Ross, because you'll see my team in a sec. But Yelena, you had a super surprising sell pick, but I low-key love it. Are you going to dare to do this? Should I dare to do this? Talk us through it.
I think so much of this depends on early team news. But the thing is with Haaland, we've all had him in our teams for ages because we're scared to get rid of him. We know what he's capable of. I don't think he's been that impressive, to be honest. I mean, if we look last 5 games, 2 goals, 1 assist, he was getting that in a game, whereas now last 5, and he's at risk of rotation. So I will absolutely kick myself if I don't take a punt and get rid of him. And then he ends up being benched. I mean, he came on against Chelsea. I think he was on for 16 minutes in total, and nothing happened. I thought he was going to come, and within the first 5 minutes, he'd be absolutely humiliating us. And that just didn't transpire. So I think Haaland is one. It will be very, very dependent on early team news. If we find out that he's starting, I will definitely probably keep him in. But at the moment, I just think it's the final game week. We need to have a bit of fun and maybe not run him so much.
Yeah, and the other thing I think to think about as well is that City are obviously still in the FA Cup final and the Champions League final. So, Ross, do you think that that might impact Pep's selection? Maybe we see a stronger team in order to get them more like game ready for those finals, or maybe it could go the opposite way and they're actually rested another game and he's brought off the bench. Like, do you kind of have an idea of which way you see this going? Are you considering selling Haaland at all?
I see this going as more of a rhythm game for Pep and for the 2 finals. So I think we'll see a very strong team from Pep. Whether that means it'll be a strong performance, I feel like they are kind of focused on the 2 finals now. But I would strongly advise, if you're in a position like Yelena or I am, don't sell Haaland unless we get team news that he's not starting. Because I suppose even if he doesn't start at 82.6% ownership, and he's going to be over 100% in our ranks, even if he comes off the bench and gets a goal, that's going to destroy your rank. So I feel like if you're happy with where you are in your mini leagues and your rank, I would just probably keep him unless we get team news he doesn't start and you want to take, because the great thing about Haaland is you can go to Kane or you can go to Alvarez. And I feel like both of those, if Haaland doesn't start, you would expect them to outscore him. It's not a risk I would ever take without confirmation that he doesn't start, though. It's just not worth it for me at my rank. But if you want to have fun and you're at a rank you're not happy with, definitely go for it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm gonna hold off on taking a -4 until we at least get closer. And that brings us to your sale, Isaac from Newcastle. Now they do face Chelsea, Ross, and obviously you're a United fan. You just put 4 past us. So where do you think on this one?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Isak's data is still okay. And as you can see here, he's underperforming his expected goals, 1.56 in the last 5 games, and he hasn't scored. So if he'd have scored 1 or 2 goals, maybe we're not considering this in the same way. I just think when he plays on the left, he is not a good FPL option. And at the moment, Callum Wilson is too good to bench. So I feel like Wilson will continue to start through the middle. Isak is essentially playing as like a left wing back. If you look at his average touch map, he's not playing in a particularly attacking role. It's more like a left mid, left wing back than a left wing. And for that reason, I'm just not a massive fan of him. Despite the fact that the fixture is decent on paper, I just don't like the positions he's taken up. And I feel like there are some really exciting picks that you could go for, like a Taiwo Awoniyi or a Danny Ings or a Ben for a Solanke. There are loads of really fun striker punts. And I just don't really fancy Isak for the final week. But if you have Callum Wilson, I would definitely keep him.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I will say I did feel that he was a little bit unlucky because I felt that he was getting into good positions as well. But so that takes us to our team, and I'm super keen to get your guys' thoughts. So I'll fill you in on what happened. So last week, Yelena knows I was messaging her deep into the night, worried about my team and my transfers. And then I realized it was like 1 a.m. and I had spent like 6 hours thinking about what transfers I'm going to make. And I was like, I cannot do this again. No way. And so I was looking at my team and I was like, I really want to bring Eze in. I think it's a fun punt pick. I don't think I'm going to be playing McAllister or whatever. I'm just going to do the transfer now because I felt like I haven't been listening to my gut so much. I was like, this is what my gut's telling me. I'm just going to listen to it. Whatever. I also forgot that the deadline was on Sunday. I thought that we were playing on Saturday. So it was less early than I had imagined. But then now we get this like news from Klopp saying, oh, we're probably going to see a lot of rotation in the squad. And I'm thinking, gosh darn it, I could have just downgraded Salah to Eze and then brought in Kane for -4 and then had Kane and Holland. So this is my team at the moment. The goalkeeper, I don't like my goalkeeper situation at all. I really don't know which one to start. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know. And then the thing that I'm thinking about is are Trent and Salah going to play? Obviously, they don't really have anything to play for anymore. They're disappointed. No Champions League football. Do I bench a Stupinian? Brighton haven't necessarily been keeping clean sheets. I do bet on Villa to score. So yeah, this is my team. What do you guys think? Any help is appreciated.
Ross, I think you should start because you'll throw out all of the stats.
No, I think sometimes we, based on previous seasons, sometimes we overplay the having nothing to play for and overplay the rotation. There will be some shocks. Like it will be something like we expected Rashford to start and he didn't, or Matoma's benched. But I would feel fairly confident saying I think Trent and Salah will start. And so I wouldn't have issues with them there. There are certain players like we might see, for example, like a Cody Gakpo being benched, even though he starts most of the games. Salah and Trent there's no one that can play Trent's role, and Salah is Salah. Salah plays every game for Liverpool. So I wouldn't be too worried there. I think the team looks pretty much perfect. I've got a similar situation with my goalkeepers. I've got Edison and Raya, which we'll discuss. But for the final game of the season, it's just not worth making a transfer. So, I mean, Raya makes more saves. Raya is better for bonus points, and Brentford are the better defense, but he has the more difficult fixture. I would probably start Raya and just hope you get like a 3 or 4 pointer from making saves. And yeah, the only other thing you need to think about, especially if you're not particularly happy with your rank, Ellie, is do you want to captain someone like a Salah instead? Because I would be very tempted by that myself.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was thinking about was, do I captain Callum Wilson versus Chelsea? Like, do I go super, super punty? Do I go for a Salah or Fernandez? Like, I feel like there's a lot of fun captain options here, but I don't know how Newcastle are going to go if it's so hard because they've obviously already secured Champions League football, but Chelsea are just leaking goals at the moment. We can't keep a clean sheet for the life of us. But I'm really glad that you said that about Salah because I was feeling absolutely awful about my decision to make Eze for McAllister super early. So I'm glad to hear that. So now I'm just going to hold off and see if Holland is benched. Then I think I'm going to take a -4 and bring in Kane. But other than that, I think my team is pretty set. Other than captaincy, so thanks for the confirmation. I feel better than I was. I was really pissed before the stream. Yelena, what about you? This is your Game Week 38 team.
So I have no idea this week. This is if we get the early team news about Haaland. I want to bring in Kane, and then he looks like he might not play. So I was thinking of going for White instead. But then I've been thinking about it all morning. I'm quite tempted actually to take out one of my Brighton mids because I can imagine Matoma being benched, potentially McAllister as well. So I'd be quite tempted actually to go for an Arsenal midfielder, probably Erdegaard, or following on from the stream last week where I was talking about how great Trossard would be as a pick, maybe bring in Trossard instead. But this is at the moment kind of set, but it would be for a -4. So I don't know whether actually it's worth just taking a punt on Gahey instead, starting him, then having Trippier, Trent, Gahey for my defence, and then just benching Shaw or starting Shaw, hoping he starts. And if he doesn't, at least I've got a backup. And then I was concerned about the Salah news as well, but thank you, Ross, because you've reassured me. And after his tweet last night, where he was just so bitter, I can imagine him going mad in the next game just to try and prove himself. So I do actually really like the idea of the Salah captaincy.
So if you take out Holland, are you thinking of putting the captaincy then on Salah?
I think so. That is the temptation. But I don't know. Like Ross said, it all depends on how Spurs perform. The thing is, I just need some sort of return from Kane. And I think quite often Spurs score early on and then they're just completely like dead for the rest of the game. So as long as a goal comes from Kane, I'll be happy. But I think Salah is the one that we could see quite a big score from this week.
Yeah, he's got something to prove maybe because they haven't made Champions League football. I can't tell you how relieved I feel that you think that Salah will start. Ross, what about you? This is your team. Obviously, no transfers yet. What are you thinking about doing?
Yeah, so my thoughts at the moment are I'm going to wait for early team news because I don't see anyone as a massive issue if they start. It's just there's always the risk. I mean, I say that I think these players will start. I've got no real idea, and only the managers know. But I'm seeing the three probably biggest issues for me as being McAllister, Mahrez, and Enciso. So they're the three spots where I'm looking at either bringing in like an Eze in midfield. I like the idea of Gakpo if we know he starts, another Man City midfielder. And then for Enciso, it would probably be someone like a Solanke, Danny Ings, or Taiwo Awoniyi. So there are lots of options. Interestingly, before we started recording this, there was news that Robertson's probably out for game week 38, which offers, I think, Tsimikas is 4.3 million, and you would expect him to start. So if you're looking, and he'll be on set pieces as well in the absence of Robertson. So if you're looking for a cheap defender, and you do, especially you, Yelena, if you do want to end up taking out Luke Shaw, I think Tsimikas is. Because for me, in a single week, going for a defender or a goalkeeper has quite low upside because you need the defender to score and get bonus points and a clean sheet, really. But someone like a Tsimikas or a Trent, they have this in their locker. So the only way I would make a defensive transfer is for someone like a Tsimikas. But at the moment, if nothing were to happen and I didn't get any news, it would probably be either McAllister or Mahrez to Eze. And then maybe for a -4, I could do Enciso to... I suppose if I sell Mahrez, I could do Enciso to Alvarez if he starts. But it's really up in the air for me at the moment. I'm hoping we do get some early team news. I will consider captaining Salah or Bruno, but only if we get 100% confirmation that Haaland's on the bench. Otherwise, I'm a real safe manager. When I'm at the rank I want, I'm just going to captain the obvious captain that's going to be highly owned. If I was chasing, it's got to be Salah for me. I just think he could go absolutely massive against Southampton.
I think Ross needs to be in our thoughts because he will be live streaming when all the team news is coming in. So we'll be at home just carefully making our transfers. Ross is going to have thousands of people watching him, his every move.
I like whenever I like make my decision, I feel like I change my mind so many times as well. And I'm just like not sure what I want to do. So that would be extremely hard for me. Cool. Well, I think that we've covered most things. Like, are there any other talking points that you guys have seen on the timeline? I know, like, I don't have as much FPL Twitter. I'm not in it as much as I would like to be.
I think I would just want to say, if you're looking at 1 week punts and you are chasing, please have fun with it and trust yourself, because I feel like as an FPL content creator and someone that understands statistics, I would back myself over 6 to 8 game weeks to get a lot of decisions correct. And I say, if you bring in a player for this period of time, they will probably get you some returns because their data's strong and they're playing in a good team. But in a single week, anything can happen. We've seen those crazy weeks where random defenders score a brace or a CDM scores 3 goals. So I feel like in a single week, the final game week of the season, pick a player you like. Well, first, I would pick a fixture you think there'll be tons of goals in. Then pick a player that you like from one of those teams and just go for it and just have a bit of fun. I wouldn't trust content creators after watching this video saying you should bring in this player and this player for a single week because they don't know. I can't predict the future. I can't tell you who's going to score this week. You'd be more angry with yourself if you don't trust your gut feeling. So that would be kind of my take-home advice, is just trust yourself for this final week.
You two are the perfect examples as well about gut feeling, because Ellie, you brought in Wilson and then captained him, and it was the biggest week he's had. And then Ross, last week, were you thinking of Ferguson and someone else?
Yeah, Ferguson. It was Ferguson and Matoma it was going to be, and they both smashed it. So
yeah, so I think sometimes you can get quite blinded by the stats and what other people are doing, but when you have a feeling, it's best to go for it. And it's disappointing if it doesn't pay off, but when it does, it's just the absolute best.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's definitely happened to me too much this season that I like, especially the beginning of the season, I was like getting roped into what everybody was doing.
Mm.
And then towards the second half, like after the World Cup, I've been able to like redeem it a smidge, like still terrible. But I started trying to think about like, okay, what do I feel? And then thinking about what everybody else is kind of saying and going with, but then trying to like go with my gut instinct. And that's kind of why I made my transfer early, because I didn't trust myself not to get like roped in with what the herd was doing. But I typically don't make transfers so early anymore. I used to, and that's why my game week has been shit. Well, not my game week, my year has been shit. It was just like too reactive in how I was playing. But definitely trust your gut, guys. It's the last game week. And honestly, like, have fun with it. Like, we'll start again next year. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, I'm at a rank that I don't really care. Like, I'm in the top million now. So, like, happy days. It's so pathetic. But there's always next season as well. And as a Chelsea fan, I'm just like ready for this season to be over as well. But guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. We didn't go too much over what we normally do, which is good. So it's still like digestible. And thank you guys so much. I'll go to you first, Ross. I'm sure everybody watching already watches all of your videos, but let them know where they can find you.
I don't want to promote myself. What I want to say is make sure to subscribe to Ellie. If you're watching this right now, subscribe, like, and drop a comment down below. Those three things are completely free, but they massively support the channel. And I know for a fact Ellie's got some exciting collaborations planned next season and some good content. And hopefully Chelsea will do well, and then the content will actually be enjoyable for you to record. So make sure to subscribe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hope so. I hope so as well, because it's been a rough season. And Yelena, let everybody know where they can find you.
Ross is showing me up now. I'm like,
Yeah, I know you're going to look really.
If people are subscribed to me, they're not subscribed to the two of you, then I'll be shocked. So I need all the help I can get. But Twitter and TikTok at Yelena FPL. But yeah, I think hopefully next season, if Chelsea are on the up, you'll be able to enjoy making that side of the content a lot more as well, because there's just nothing positive to say at the moment. It's really hard, but you did a good job, because I've seen a lot of negativity about Chelsea, and you've always managed to find the positives to what is going on and looked forward. So as a Chelsea fan, I highly appreciate it.
I'm going to manifest it now. Ellie's going to get top 10K and Chelsea are going to finish top 4. And that's going to be your season.
If Ross has manifested it.
When I manifest something, it happens every time.
I would love that. Like that's all I need for next season, honestly. But thank you guys so much for joining. Honestly, I appreciate it so much. This was so fun. And guys, just to echo what they said, like, sub to everybody. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, and we all put out really fun different content as well, which I think is super cool. So hope that you enjoyed this video. Good luck with your game week. Let us know in the comments what transfers you're planning on making, who you're captaining, all of it. We want to know. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. And until next time, we're out. Bye.
Bye.